everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. And yes, we have a pretty good crew as well as in the chat. Let me go to the crew real quick, go to the topics, and then we'll go from there. To my right, Travis Holmes. Welcome back, Travis.
Thank you for having me, as always, sir.
You're welcome. To my lower left, Mel Farr, superstar commentator.
How's it going, guys?
Going real well. And last but not least, football talk. Man, his name is Bo Crouch. How you doing?
How's it going, guys?
All right, let me just go over the topics with you real quickly. We're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, Odell Beckham, Jacksonville Jaguars. This one's up Travis Holmes' alley. And last but not least, we're talking about the NFL schedule release, but no, I'm not getting into the games like all 9 billion shows did when I was out in Detroit covering the Detroit Tigers and the Miami Marlins. I have some opinions on that, and I'm sure the rest of the crew does. Without further delay, Candy will go to Candy after the first topic. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Brian Schottenheimer said quarterback treylance workload will increase this summer. So, Travis Holmes, is that a threat to Dak Prescott?
Oh, Lord, that hurt my abs, man. No, no, not at all. I mean, the only threat to Dak Prescott is injury. At the end of the day, like that, he is that guy. Like again, he may not be the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, but he's absolutely squarely in the top 10. And I don't think Trey Lance is anywhere near approaching that. So Trey Lance, it's great that Trey Lance is going to have some additional items added to his, added to his inventory, of responsibility. But overall, that means nothing for Dak Prescott. Like at the end of the day, Dak's going to be the guy, and that team's going to go as well as he goes or as bad as he goes.
Well, let me talk about it from a financial standpoint. Do you think Jerry Jones is out there looking at down the road? If I can't sign Dak, I could be looking at his successor.
I mean, he'd be wild not to look at it from that perspective. I mean, he needs to, but in reality, more likely than not, if it's not Dak, it's going to be someone in the draft. Like it will be a Trey Lance situation, assuming they can get him under contract with someone else. Like it won't be the Trey Lance show unless he shows something just insane. This season, which we just haven't seen enough to be able to predict that.
Okay, Mel, you know the question. Or questions.
Do I think that Trey Lance is a threat to Dak?
Yeah,
I think it's the insurance policy for Jerry Jones. I mean, why else would you bring somebody like that? I mean, you have a talent who San Francisco thought enough of to trade a lot of draft picks, trade a lot of draft capital to bring him in. Unfortunately, things didn't work out for him because of injury. Jerry, sometimes he outsmarts himself. I mean, you look at what's going on with CD Lamb, and you look at what happened with Dak the last time. Had they signed Dak a year earlier, they could have got him for a lot cheaper. Dak likes to bet on himself, and you look at what the market is right now. You see what Jared just got paid. Dak's he's in for a payday. Whether or not Jerry Jones wants to pay him or not, I really don't know. But there aren't that many Patrick Mahomes out there, true quarterbacks that could carry a franchise. Dak is serviceable. You just have to put some other players around him. I think you can get the job done with Dak. You don't necessarily have to have a great quarterback in order to win a Super Bowl. So, Jerry just has to make up in his mind that, this is who I brought to the dance, and this is who I'm going to dance with. And, he's going to have to pay the guy. I mean, he's going to get paid whether it's from the Cowboys or whether it's from somewhere else. But he's going to get paid, and I would think that I don't think Jerry wants to see him do well somewhere else. So eventually, I think it'll get done. I think that Dak will sign, and he's gonna be making good money.
Paul?
Yeah, there's no chance that he's a threat to Dak. I mean, you got to keep in mind at the end of the season, they didn't even let him dress for games, right? It's like he wasn't even getting the second spot on the depth chart. So for him to have some extra responsibilities, I mean, cool. He's carrying towels and water and stuff. I mean, I don't know what we're talking about. Like, he couldn't beat out anybody within the Niners organization. They give him away for a pack of Big Red. And then at the end of the season, he wasn't even suiting up. So no, I mean, he's not a threat. Now, obviously, Dallas moving forward has some questions because regardless of whether or not Dak is on the roster, they owe him a ton of money next year, right? That's just the dead cap hit. Now, he doesn't get more guaranteed money, but that cap hit is no joke. So they either re-sign him and kick the can down the road, or they don't sign him, and they need a guy like Treylance and Cooper Rush because they can't afford another quarterback. So they need to figure out what it is they're doing with Dak. But as far as Treylance taking his job, no chance.
No, but there is a chance that I can tell you right now to everybody's face. I like your analogy about a pack of Big Red. That was good. All right. Let's go to the chat room. Rocket Scientist. I love this comment. Small group today. I like it that way. If there's too many people, it gets too crazy. That's true. That's why we're going to go to this a lot more. We're going to go to 4 or 5 people, see what happens. Everybody gets their thing. That way I don't have to hear things. Well, yeah, I like what he just said, blah, blah, blah. Everybody comes up with their own original thought. Josh Shador, question for the panel. What is the most fascinating talent outside of football and broadcasting? All right, I'll let this one go around the horn. We'll start off with you, Travis.
So what's the most fascinating talent outside of football and broadcasting? My talent, well, most people don't know, but I sing. I had a former recording contract with Ink Records. So I sing. I used to sing for my church even just a year ago, and I don't have the time these days because Sunday is football, and I'm in Jacksonville, so that's probably it. Singing.
Let me chime in on that last topic for a moment. You know what? I like the fact that Treylance has been able to hold a clipboard for a long time, and he's in a situation where at least he can watch. The only thing I have about today's quarterbacks are so busy getting them in there, and maybe this kid here with 202 years, you got to remember, before he came to the 49ers, he didn't play that much in college either, so his on-field time was so small, and then he's out with San Francisco, he gets hurt, so having this time down with the Cowboys, I think is really good for him. So age is on his side. All right, Mel, I'll let you address the question from Joshua Dorr.
What is the most talent that I have?
Yeah.
My dad always said I was a better baseball player than a football player. I mean, I just like the contact more so in football than I did baseball. Plus, baseball, you had to play it. We had to play it. Practice was far away from the school, and nobody came out to watch the game. So, I just said, I'm going to hang up this baseball thing and just stick to football and run track to improve my speed and stamina for football. But my dad always said that baseball was my better sport.
So you were a baseball guy before you jumped on the gridiron, right?
Yep.
Well, be darn. Look at that. Oh, good question, Joshua. I like to find out more and more people about our people. All right, Bo, you know the question. Let's give them the answer. This is one that you can handle.
Yeah. So I cannot sing, and none of you will hear me, and you're welcome. But what I can do is I can dance. I used to teach ballroom dance for Arthur Murray.
All right. Well, you know what? If I'm going to have to answer this question, I will say this, and I believe it's something that a lot of people should do. Is for me, I like writing. I wrote a book. Candy's going to address it in a moment. But to me, writing is something I really take a lot of pride in because I've done it for my entire career in this industry. If you can become a good writer, you can do well in this business on the air. So great question, Joshua. With that said, Joshua, you just earned a station break from Candy tonight. Go ahead.
Wait a minute. How come I got to do more work when he's, doing stuff like that? Come on.
Well, here, now that you want to do more work, why don't you answer this question now that Joshua hit it? They want to hear from you anyway.
I opened a mouth and inserted foot. Ooh, ouch. Well, let's see. Something that you guys probably don't know is that I was into music. I don't sing really not very well. I don't dance really well. But I play music. So I used to play the bass clarinet, the flute, the piano, and handbells. And I was actually the handbell director at my church back in Wisconsin. So that's something you probably didn't know.
Great question, Joshua. All right, give us a station break. And then I got an interesting one about Joshua Dorr. Go ahead.
Okay, Scott, you said your talent was writing. This is the book you wrote, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, Apple Books, and we are working on an audio version to be released later on. It talks about 40 plus years of you in the media industry and how the media has changed over the course of time. If you listen to podcasts, you can catch this on our podcast channel. You can catch it wherever you get your podcast, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Monday nights is baseball. Tuesday nights is football. Wednesday nights is Sports Exchange usually. We're going to pause tomorrow night because we are actually going to be covering the Miami Marlins versus the Milwaukee Brewers down in Miami tomorrow night. And then Thursday night, again, will be Pundit's Pundit, and Scott is going to be introducing a new show, which I will let you talk about more in a minute. But you can go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can see Scott's writing, you can see my pictures, you can see all kinds of other great things. Go to our website, check it out. Go to, if you do Twitter or X, it's at Tribune South. Email us any ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941. If you missed any of that, it's scrolling at the bottom of the show. You can look it up there. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Well, that show I'm talking about, Mel Farr Jr. is slated to be the opening guest. I've been working with Mel for a lot of years, and I couldn't think of a better person than to introduce a new platform than Mel. He's been a very close friend of mine. We've done a lot of projects together, but this show here will be on another network with a lot of professional shows connected to it. Mel had a chance to look at it. It's called No Filter Network, and there's a lot of familiar people on there as well. So now looking forward to it, and we'll get it out there on the YouTube channel so you can get an idea. All right, so here, let's go back to another one here. Joshua Dorr, are we doing dog checks this evening? Now, let me address it in this way. Oh, well, I'm able to negotiate with some people here. So here's what we could do. If Joshua can get Travis another 1,000 subscribers for his YouTube channel, that'll give you a little cushion over the 13 that you already had, because considering you started. How many do you have, Bo?
I don't know, like 300 or something.
All right, we'll get him another 800, and we might be able to get a compassionate dog check. Mel, I don't know. Do you have a YouTube channel, or do you care?
No, I don't have a YouTube channel. No.
All right, so here, Bob Barker would say the price is right. You want to go ahead and do dog checks with these guys who are very straightforward broadcasters that are very nuts and bolts, give you the facts. They may not give you the Richard Pryor laughs or the Eddie Murphy ones. There you go. Now, Travis, if you want to give them a soft dog check, all you have to say is dog check. That way, if you write it in a complete sentence, you say dog check, and you might give this dog a bone. Go ahead.
Wait, if Travis sings, he should sing dog check.
Oh, man.
I'm not singing dog check.
Well,
Come on, man.
What are you asking for? I'm trying to get a dog check out of the guy. You're asking for the moon.
I will address Josh and Rocket here. So you guys aren't blacklisted on our show. The thing is we don't respond to random stuff that's off topic. So when we're doing our show, if you guys are commenting things that are on topic, we absolutely bring it into the show. But if you guys are just dropping random stuff, we have a show that we're producing, that we have a path that we're trying to complete. So we don't generally just go off on random tangents.
Okay, now do you want to give them at least a dog check, at least mentioning the words?
Right.
That way,
dog check. Dog check.
All right, there you go, Josh.
Dog
That's
check.
one. All right, Bo, do the impossible, though. Just say dog check, and that way we can stay on the path of this show, although I feel better with 4 people here and 3 more topics to go.
No way. Now it's just on principle. There's 0 dog checks.
Well, you just said dog check. You said 0 dog checks. You got dog checks. So there you go. Now you have it. He said 0 dog checks, but the 2-word dog check came out there. All right. Good stuff. Freud came into the picture and cooler heads prevailed. All right. How much Mountain Dew have I had? I don't know what the over-under is, but if you hear me as loud as I am, well, enough. All right. So, little girl, can you guys discuss the Paralympics? I don't even know. Can you guys talk about it? It takes all different kinds of people on these shows. I don't know. You guys know?
I can't effectively talk about it.
I don't know, little girl. I'm not sure either.
I could BS anything, but not today.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure about that, little girl. Sorry, we tried here. It's a good family show. As far as the Paralympics, well, no comment. All right, let's go. Let's keep going to the chat room. Bo has the most impressive broadcasting set up in the business. There you go. Now that's something tangent, right, Bo?
He does.
Yeah. I mean, it's a work in progress, but I appreciate it. It's way better than the fake background that I had for a long time.
There you go. All right, see, Joshua, I told you, Bo is Bo is Bo. Bo knows broadcasting. Bo knows a lot, and Bo's on Tuesday night. Okay.
That's
Wow.
right.
Thanks for sharing. Okay. Think. No. That's what you call a Memorex class that I used to break every time I tried to sing. And I used to like karaoke, but they let me go because they want me to go ahead and empty out the joint. So I was banned from doing karaoke back in the days. Not that anybody would ever be surprised anyway. And I love it. Let's get Travis singing. Bo. All right, let's keep it going. Gosh, I told you he needs you on coast to coast with the guys for show to get those comments out. Maybe tell you what sodas they drink. All right, so I guess he's talking about soda. All right. Dusty's uncle Jake used to get in linebacker position when fighting. Just ask. All right, let's keep it going. I don't want to go out there and lose my voice. I still have 3 topics worth of voice. All right, what do we got? Anything interesting? All right, Bo is too cool to dog check. You're already dead, Josh. You just said it a little different than most people, Travis. He just said no chance for dog checks, and he said dog checks. So you got the dog checks. That's not the way you did. You got the dog checks in a way of equivalent to the trophy I won many years ago. I got a trophy many years ago for most unusual form. You just got a most unusual dog check. That's all. All right, we'll leave it at that. Should I be mentioning my bowling or nah? Who cares? It's a family show. All right, we'll talk about Odell Beckham. Wants to make a statement as he enters the twilight of his career with the Miami Dolphins. Is he a good fit with Miami, Bo?
So I mean, I guess like he's not going to be the number 1 target. So I guess that's good for him. He's a 400-yard a year receiver now, right? And he has been for multiple years. He has a tendency to get hurt. He is a couple of splashy plays during the season guy. Like that's what he is. What doesn't make sense is that team needs defense. It wasn't good. They got rid of their key players. They draft one guy. And in all of that wisdom, they're like, you know what we need? Another receiver. So I don't think he's going to make a big impact on that team.
Okay. What do you think, Mel?
Well, you got an offensive coach. You know, what is he concerned about? Offense. He's not really concerned about defense. They lost their defensive coordinator. Ended up getting rid of their defensive coordinator. I don't think the defensive coordinator was the problem. I think it was probably personnel that was the problem. But he's the offensive coach, so he's only thinking about one side of the ball, and that's the side of the ball that he coaches on. He wants to make sure that side looks good. If that side looks good, he can probably keep his job. Odell, as you're saying, Odell is more famous for obviously that one catch he had and then his antics, more so than anything that he's done on the field. Now, he may have had a couple Pro Bowl years. I can't really remember because it's been so long ago. And yes, he does have a tendency to get injured, but you're giving Tua more dynamic weapons. Obviously, they already have a 1 and a 2 with Waddle and the Cheetah. We know that they have running backs, and now you're getting a slot guy. I guess potentially you're getting a guy that can go in the slot, or you can put him outside and put Cheetah in the slot. Makes it very difficult. Obviously, going to put a lot of pressure on defenses. It'll make it very difficult for defenses to cover all that. You can't, you got to pick your poison. Who are you going to double? So yeah, I mean, obviously, I just think that because he's an offensive-minded coach, he wants to get as many weapons on that side of the ball as possible. And, he figures that he can just outscore everybody. But at some point in time, particularly, as they found out when they went up to Kansas City, you got to be able to run the football. Sometimes it's cold, the weather's not that great, and you got to be able to shorten that game up, and you need to be able to run the football, and you need to be able to run it effectively, which they can. Which they showed, they got running backs that can run the football, but you also got to be able to stop the run too. And so that's a problem that they're going to find themselves in probably. Again, I don't know. I can't remember who they hired as the defensive coordinator, but Bo makes a very valid point. But again, you have to think about, who their head coach is. Everybody thinks he's the whiz kid, greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, that's all great. If you can't stop anybody, you're not going very far in this league.
Yeah. Well, like Josh Fedor said, Mel keeps it real. You did exactly that. All right, Travis.
Well, this is the interesting part about this is because OBJ he may not be who he was in 2021, but he is that guy who we've seen flashes of where if I don't know, if Hill gets hurt, if Waddle gets hurt and he's out for a half, he's out for a game, something like that happened just last year for Miami when they were missing Hill and he was hobbled late in the season and into the postseason. If you have a situation where you're down a guy, OBJ may not be that guy he was, but he is a guy who can still give you a 70-yard, 100-yard game. He is that guy. He just can't consistently give it to you every week. But there is value in that. And I don't want to just act like that's not the case. But as far as making a statement in the quote unquote twilight of his career, I mean, that's what you do when you get old, man. And it stinks to say a 31-year-old receiver is the old guy, is the old head in the locker room. But yeah, a 31-year-old receiver is the old head in the locker room. You are the guy who's going to have to move inside. You are the guy. You are DeAndre Hopkins. You are Larry Fitzgerald in his last few years. You are even Jerry Rice in Oakland. Like, you're that guy who you're going to have to do a little bit more of that dirty work, because that's where you are in that stage. He seems like he's comfortable with it because he got off the couch. He took the money. He's there. So, I mean, if he's that guy who does give you 700, 800 yards in this offense, but he gives it to you in spurts of 2 and 3 games where he gets a 100-yard game, 115 yards here and there, just enough to scare teams that you can't like lean coverage. Hey, man, that's probably the best they're going to hope for him at this point in his career.
Well, let me mention this too. You guys all make good points. Tyreek Hill and Odell Beckham Jr. have championship rings. They both do. Waddle is the only one that doesn't, but he won a championship at Alabama. So they're all championship caliber wide receivers. Right. For me, the Miami Dolphins have to prove they can win in January when it's cold. They really do. That's always been their hiccup anyway. So it doesn't matter whether they're on Peacock, NBC, CBS, or ABC. It doesn't matter where they're at. They have to win when it's cold. And they haven't proved to be doing that. And on a subject that's interrelated, Tua is obviously trying to get an extension, and he actually went 17 games his first year. And I would hedge on that extension a little bit until he can have another year where he goes 17 games. Even though I didn't mention it that way, you do have 3 quality receivers, but you have to be able to go out there and win when it's cold, because you know what? That's all there is to it. And that's been Miami's problem over the years. And, say what you want. I mean, this team here looks like one of those Hollywood type of put together teams. We got all the star power, but that star power isn't getting us past the first or second round. And yeah, Mel's right. Okay. Daniels, the head coach, Mike McDaniels, was brought in there to replace Brian Flores, and he gets along and high fives to him. Great. But Mike, you've had the same success as Brian Flores. You haven't gone very deep in the playoffs, so it wouldn't matter who's roaming the sidelines. It's just a matter of how fancy it is when you get the wins. And right now, we're at basically a push. Bo, is there something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, well, it's funny because everybody always brings up the fact that it was so cold when they played KC, but they forget the fact that they didn't have to play that game. They could have taken care of business the week before against Buffalo and had a home game and avoided that whole negative degree temperature game. So it's not even that you can really blame that negative temperature game. They didn't take care of business to end the season. It's why they didn't win their division.
Hey, Bo, there's no question about it. Yeah, there's no question about it, Bo. They didn't. It was all laid out there for them. All they had to do was win one more game. Just so happens to be against Buffalo. And that too. And they didn't do either. Now you've lost defense, and now you better hope you can outscore people, because darn well you can't stop them. All right, C, you want to ask how far can I hit an 8-iron? Well, you might have to have asked me that 20 years ago, because I haven't picked one up in a long time. And with all my medical procedures, who knows? Maybe my grandmother could hit it farther than I could. Although the only problem is she's kind of like dead, so we won't mention that. But good, fair enough question. All right, rocket scientist with an off-topic question. Can we go around the room? Who do you have for the East Coast Conference Finals? Panthers or Rangers? I don't mind incorporating a hockey question. Go ahead, Travis. Make it quick, and then we'll go. We have 2 more topics, but I don't want to ignore these guys' questions because they're passionate hockey fans.
Hey, man, I lived in the UP, Michigan, but I don't know nothing about hockey. Hey, I'm gonna flip a coin. Rangers. Cool.
Okay. So are you going to give me the same thing that Stephen A. Smith? The only thing he knows about hockey is the puck is black, because that's a Stephen A. Smith answer. And I'm just saying the puck is black, just like
I trained with the Olympic hockey team, and I still can tell you a thing about the sport, man.
Yeah, but you already said who's your prediction?
I said the Rangers.
Oh, okay. All right, Mel, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with Travis. I'm gonna flip a coin. I couldn't tell you. I haven't watched not one blink, not 1 second of hockey. I have no idea. I'm gonna go with the Panthers. I just like that nickname, Panthers.
Well, no, well, now you have a big fan club with these guys. Okay, if you go Panthers, all right, Bo, what do you think?
I think that's a series that probably goes 7, and I do give the edge to the Panthers there.
Yeah, I will too. I will give the edge to the Panthers because they came so close to winning it. Well, they lost in 5 games to Vegas last year, but they got to the finals. I think they're a hungry team as well. I mentioned this last night. As long as these guys keep bringing up in the chat room, I'm not going to change my position. I think the Florida Panthers are going to win, and we'll leave it at that. All right, let's see what other stuff they want to go off topic with. How many members of this chat does it take to screw a light bulb? 3, Josh holds a bulb, and Rocket C turned the chair. And you guys can all have a no comment because I'm not letting anybody comment. We're going to stay on topic, okay? So leave it there. But we're going to keep it closer to home with Travis Holmes, though. The Jaguars City agree to spend $1.4 billion on the Stadium of the Future. Jacksonville will be there for 30 years. That means they're only allowed to play, I think, 1 game overseas under this agreement. The proposal calls for each side to contribute $625 million to the $1.25 billion project. Jacksonville will contribute $150 million to get everbankstadium ready for 2026. Obviously, we once talked about the fact that you were talking about Daytona International Speedway. I know that's out the window, but the other choices are Gainesville, Orlando the following year. All right, Travis, obviously, you went out there and are close to the subject. No, Robert, I don't hate your jokes. I'm just trying to understand a few of these things before I go out there and come up with what do they call that? A hypothesis, an educated guess. Is that what they call it? Go back to the dictionary. I'm pretty sure. But anyways, Travis, don't worry about it. Don't get cracked up in it. Just make sure you give us the lowdown in Jacksonville. What are your thoughts about these latest developments?
I mean, this deal was great. I mean, if you're the city, this is probably the best you're going to get. This is the best you're probably going to hope for the city of Jacksonville. Like, there are some people who are going to, poop. They're going to take a dump on the deal just because it's Jacksonville that's agreeing to it. You have the Jason Lockenfords out there who just have to be right because he predicted years ago that the Jaguars are going to be in London, and now he has eggs on his face, so he's not going to like the deal. But most guys who even look at the details of this deal acknowledge that it is a great deal for the city because the city actually owns the stadium. And that was the biggest difference with a lot of these other, the recent stadiums that's been built or the brand new ones, like the ones in Tennessee and the one in Buffalo. They have state funds, whereas the state of Florida is not giving a dime towards this stadium. This is all negotiated between the team and the Jaguars. So now the Jaguars are actually going to be taking on more of the actual expenses, the ongoing expenses of the deal, moving forward in the renewed stadium. So that's a big change because, again, this is the Jaguar Stadium. I'm sorry, the city of Jacksonville, Jacksonville City Council Stadium. So that's a very big difference. The city currently pays 87% of those expenses, and that's going to drop to like 19% under the new deal. So it's going to be a true where both sides are paying close to 50% on the current deal, and $150 million of that is actually going to be technically agreed to on the current lease that they have. That's the way they're going to propose it to the NFL. The NFL generally doesn't want anything less than a 55-45 split. So they can say, technically speaking, it's a 55-45 split, but they're while also selling it to the city of Jacksonville, the Jacksonville residents, that it's a true 50-50 split. Like, it's going to be both sides benefiting from this. And I think that's a great job in the way you're presenting it. That's a great job in the way you're actually going to sell it to the NFL. It sounds like it's going to be a win-win across the board. And I think I kind of like it.
Okay, let's go back to the chat. All right, this is getting interesting because now we got rhymers in this thing. So see, every rat in this chat can get a hat. Yeah, you can definitely get them out there. Okay. Is Scott keeping everybody in check today? I don't have to keep this group in check. They do a good job. Is the cat that eats the rat better run while I get my bat? Well, at least we know Robert knows the thing about rhyme and reason. And of course, the Rangers are going to get checked tomorrow. All right, we'll leave it at that. All right, with that said, okay, Mel, what are your thoughts about the Jacksonville situation?
Well, I always hate it when teams hold cities hostage. I'm a traditionalist. I don't like teams relocating, so I'm glad for the folks in Jacksonville. Obviously, they fought very hard to get a franchise down there, and then for the owner to hold them hostage and threaten to go somewhere else. I don't think the grass is always green on the other side of the fence. I think sometimes if you just water and fertilize your grass, it'll be the nicest lawn on the yard on the block. So. I'm happy for the city of Jacksonville. I hate for them. I would hate for them to go somewhere else. We call it the San Antonio Jaguars or something like that. I think it's good. For as far as weather for players to be able to go down there late in December and January. It's great. You don't have to worry about cold. So I think it's good for the NFL. I think it's obviously it's good for the state of Florida and for the citizens of Jacksonville.
Okay, Bo.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a great move. Obviously, it keeps the team there, so you can dispel any of the London talk, even though it was always fun. But but it also is a good enough stadium that they can host a Super Bowl there. So now location-wise, we'll see if that's a real option. But yeah, no, I mean, it's a good deal for the city. Obviously, it's great for the fan base. Keeps the Jags in town.
Well, I'll say one thing. Don't hold your breath about a Super Bowl, Bo. I once went to one. There was no, you couldn't get rooms there. Luckily, though, in July, I'm getting a van. So if I ever go up there again to do it, I'll make sure there's a little bed in there so I can sleep in that thing. Now, anything that keeps the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville, I am all for it. Number one, when that team starts winning, and I've seen it when it was good, that town absolutely erupts. It really does. So, you know, to me, I love the Jaguars. Dan Edwards, to me, is going in the Hall of Fame, by the way. He's a longtime PR guy who, by the way, I'll be talking to tomorrow. And, you know, because we are going to be in touch. I want to talk to him about my book for which he's in it. And, you know, to me, he's been great to me and that whole organization. But don't hold your breath on the Super Bowl. Well, they tried the old cruise ship deal, and I think the NFL said, that was a litigating
Jacksonville does not have enough hotels currently to host the Super Bowl, but Shad Khan's trying to work on that in downtown.
Well, that's the thing. It sounds
how far is
like
Orlando?
Trying to make
how far is Orlando?
About a couple hours.
Another hour and a half, 45. But also, I forgot to mention earlier, and I guess when somebody brought it up, the Jaguars did agree in this deal to take care of any overruns on construction costs, which was a big thing with a lot of stadium deals. And they also obviously locked everything in for 30 years, so the Jaguars couldn't leave. There's a poison pill that they put into that, so it makes it just an impossible out as far as that's concerned for that huge cash payment. But we didn't talk about the fact that it might be Orlando or Gainesville, depending on what happens there.
I think we did mention it a little bit.
Yeah, which probably will end up being Orlando because at least they've had the Pro Bowl here just last year. Like they have it up to NFL standards versus Gainesville. They have issues with the sideline, the locker room, etc. that they have to make changes to.
Okay. I went to a Super Bowl in Phoenix and we stayed in Tucson. And that's like, I want to say that was like 90 miles.
Really?
Yeah. We stayed in Tucson.
Well, that's not that bad of a drive down I-10. Let me mention
it's not a horrible drive.
What's that?
I was going to say that's actually not a horrible.
That's an easy drive. I've taken that drive a lot. Jonathan Hyde.
That was when you could go 70 miles an hour. That was before 70 miles an hour was the norm. I was like, what, 70 on the freeway? Are you serious?
Let me tell you, the one thing about Tucson, the best part about Tucson, not only is Tucson, but when I used to take my drives out Mount Lemmon, that's a drive for the ages, man. I used to take that a lot. All right, let me go to Jonathan and Hydock real quick. He says Jags get screwed playing overseas every year. No, they don't. In fact, if anything, when they go overseas to London, they get a lot of the revenues over there, and that's kept that franchise viable through the years. So
each London game is like 1 3/4 NFL games as far as revenue.
So no, Jonathan, they make out like bandits there. They really do. So, I can tell you, I wanted to do that, never worked out. So, I'm glad you brought it up. So, because I think that was a fair thing. And now he said that I think they fill up Florida State Stadium. Well, they may or may not, but I've been to Florida State too, and that's a pretty cool place. It's just getting to the stadium with all the parking that would make it logistically difficult to do that. If you've ever parked at FSU, it is tough. It really is, but it's interesting thought. So I love the comments coming out of here because sometimes in these chat rooms are rolling like they know, they're able to enable us to come up with ideas we wouldn't come up with at the top of our head. So keep the good ideas coming. Every one of you folks in the chat room is doing a really good job. So anybody that I left out on this one?
No.
Well, I'll just say this. Anything that the Jags can do to stay in Jacksonville, more power to him. And Shad Khan, to me, isn't the type of owner that would hold an area hostage with the amount of money that he's had. This guy's a billionaire and all that. So I've seen other owners hold cities hostage, but I can't see Shad Khan. He doesn't come across to me as one of those. He just doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with that. Shad is not the kind of guy who's going to hold the city hostage, but he's also still a billionaire. And
Exactly.
I'm gonna be straight about that. Like, I'm just keep it 100. A billionaire is a billionaire for a reason. I mean, he had to make some decisions that may not be the greatest because that's how you become a billionaire. At the end of the day, it's about that money. But he never seemed like the type of guy who wanted to who had a passion for making the team leave the city. So I'm happy for that. Like, they went from Wayne Weaver, who fought to make sure that team stayed in the city no matter what, to at least Shad Khan, who is an owner who, for
Exactly.
good and bad, will take a step back and let the other people, take care of it. Sometimes that's bad, in Urban Meyer, but for the most part, it's a good situation. That's the kind of owner you want, an owner who's going to just take his hands off and kind of let this thing run. So,
All right, Robert Wardell, let me ask you a question. I may be passing over your Jack comments, hater. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. So clarity would.
It's because he was
I
making
know.
fun of the quarterback.
Oh, okay.
It was up a screen.
I laughed.
All right. Well, hey, Bo, you want to make sure I'm not passing because your eyes are better, and I have to get a new prescription for my glasses tomorrow. Maybe
I just put it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
There
it
you
wasn't.
go.
You didn't need to put it up, but like we all saw it.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right. There's the clarity. Okay, Joshua Hydeck. What are y'all's thoughts on private equity coming into NFL ownership? That's a good one. And it doesn't have to be around the horn. Anybody that wants to step up, you can answer it.
Yeah. So it basically what it is. They're going to be a minority owner if they allow it to come in, and it's already a thing in other sports. So it's not going to take over the primary owner, right? So you're still going to have somebody that is ahead of the team and making decisions and all of that. But I mean, even without that, you're looking at an ownership group in Washington that are a bunch of non-football people that own a team. So, I mean, it wouldn't be wildly different than something like that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't know that I
the only
like it, though.
difference is they're not going to have a whole lot of say. The private
Exactly.
equity, they're not going to have any say, as a matter of fact. But what it will do is it will give some of these owners who are not the wealthiest owners, so like
Exactly.
the Raiders or teams like that, they'll give them
Mhm.
influx of cash
Yep.
where they can go out and do some things. They can upgrade their facilities, do what they need to do to be able to attract free agents.
Mhm.
The only thing I don't see, I'm trying to look at the end game because, private equity firms, I mean, they're looking for a return on their money. So, one of the things that they're talking about is these franchises are becoming so expensive that it's, they're running out of billionaires or billionaires with interest in purchasing sports franchises. Where you make your money is when you sell it. Obviously, these things have been appreciating like crazy. Look at what Jerry Jones paid for the Cowboys. I think it was 100 and some odd million or whatever it was at that particular time, and that was a lot of money back then. It was a whole lot of money. And that franchise is right now it's the most valuable sports franchise in the world. I can't remember what the valuation was,
Right.
6 billion,
Yeah,
8
it's
billion,
like
whatever it is, somewhere in that area. So I mean, you just look at what look at the how his net worth has increased because of that valuation. So what they're saying is that there's running out of billionaires, I guess. So they want to bring in, gives owners an opportunity. One, you bring in an influx of cash. You give owners an opportunity to get some cash to be able to do some other things that they may want to do, whether it be in the community, whether it be in upgrading facilities, whatever it is that they want to do with the money. But like I said, I don't see the end game on because they want to return on investment. So what are they going to do? Sell it to another private equity firm, or somebody else going to come in and buy that portion
That's
out?
actually my prediction. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Exactly what the prediction is. It's no different than these private equities buying up, I don't know, 40% of the U.S. housing market. Like, that's literally what they're doing. They're buying this house. They're making the vast majority of the money when they actually sell it, and they're using that rental income at the same time to pay off those loans while they have them. At the end of the day, that's all it really is. It's the same thing. It's just another form of investment. Being an NFL team that we know always goes up and never goes down. So
And
why not?
the thing about it is it also gives people that want to say they own a piece of a team that possibility, because it would be the same as when you buy into the actual index, right? Instead of an individual stock, you're buying into the S&P or the Dow.
Right.
And, so you could buy into this firm and you could be like, oh, I own stock in this team, right? So it gives people a way to throw money at something that doesn't actually have any tangible value to them, but
Fair.
they can be like, hey, I'm part owner.
I
Yeah,
have
see
a
what they
feeling.
get you. See what they
Yeah,
get you
I'm
when you try to go in.
I don't
Yeah.
like it though, to
Yep.
be honest. I think this is the start. This is the first step to a very bad path that the NFL is going to start going down, because it's very few times that private equity gets involved and things go better. Things get better. It always becomes this race
Yes.
towards profits, and that always end up meaning the degradation of something, whatever that industry is. So my thought process is this is probably going to be the first step that leads to some eventual I don't know, hard takeovers. Some
Right.
eventual, like they're gonna find back end ways to have. I got 5% over here. I got 15% of ownership over here, and now I technically own this company through 3 other companies, and now we own 55% of this team.
I think
You've lost your
that's
voting rights.
I think that's why they can't be a primary owner. I
Mm.
think
it's only up to
that's the
30%.
idea behind it.
Well, you have to be what 30% in order to be the primary owner, right? You have to have at least 30%. I think that's what it is.
Basically,
Ownership.
well,
I think
I thought
that's
it was
all
like
you have to
I
have.
thought it was 30, 33, something like that. But
Yeah,
you have
something
to
like
be the
that.
majority.
Yeah.
All right,
But yeah.
let's go on to a couple things here. Robert, you know, I enjoy your trolling. It's all part of the entertainment part. He says, you know, they say about the Jags have a spot on the Hawks practice squad, and just not Trevor can go back to Pee Wee and be great again. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. Nobody has to come on and everything. Now, the one thing Robert does make a good point though, and I really noticed this as you guys were talking about it, was I wouldn't be surprised if casino owners become a part of these groups. I think that's an inevitability when you get that kind of money being thrown out there. We're only leaving it at that. I like the private equity topic, even though I'm lost. I don't know anything about math and all this business anyway, but it's still worth let you guys talk about it. They will make their money through increased prices. Yeah, except the Packers. You can't buy stock in that team at public. No doubt about that, Keegan Eckert. The same thing that Patrick Mahomes has. There you go. I'll tell you, these aren't these comments pretty good, Bo? Are they staying on point and making it interesting or what?
That's why I clarified as like if you have stuff that's like on topic and makes sense, I'm about it. When you're randomly just putting crazy stuff out there, I'm gonna keep moving.
I love getting behind on these. I'll tell you what, it makes my job easier. I mean, my goodness. I mean, they could come up with all kinds of stuff out here that, you know, most of us wouldn't think of, but yet it's one of those types of things where when we put everything in perspective here, okay, that a lot of people don't think about much of this. All right, the last thing I want to get to tonight is something I really wasn't a part of much of last week because I was tied up with the Tigers and the Marlins, but is the NFL schedule release an overrated show to watch? You know what? I'll start on this one. Me personally, I think it is, and I'll tell you why. And I didn't watch it anyways, but I let you guys talk about it all last week while I was having some baseball back home in Detroit. I don't care about the NFL schedule. I'll care about that schedule when you have a 53-man roster, not when you have 90 players. I really will. And that's just how it is. I mean, you know, if everybody on every single planet wants to talk about it, and you can predict scores, if the second or third string quarterbacks in, because I don't know. I don't have any interest in it. But boy, if for all you podcasters, broadcasters, and whatnot that want to talk about it, and it fills up your airtime and it gets you likes, clicks, and all that business, more power to you. I have no use for it. All right, what about you, Travis?
It's the monster that is the NFL media. They control. I mean, bro, we watched the draft. We all, as grown adults and little kids across America, watch the NFL draft when people just find out what team they're going to. And there's a show and a parade and everything else that's surrounded around it with people in other countries naming draft picks that they've never even heard of before that day. Like, yo, this is the NFL. This is the mass media of the NFL. They control the world, man. And so this is just another stage of that. The NFL schedule release, yeah, this was not a thing. This was not a thing when I was growing up. I didn't care nothing about any of this. And I was a Jaguars fan at the time, and I still don't remember one release show. But now, again, there's a whole market around it. The articles get clicks. I got one on bigcatcountry.com covering the Jaguars, and it got clicks. And because people care for whatever reason. The NFL is king, man.
I used to know people that would take the day off work to watch the schedule release, which made absolutely no sense other than you just didn't want to go to work, because like I personally never watched it because who cares? I'm going to wait until the end. I'm going to see what the schedule is. Like, I'm curious what the schedule is so I can figure out travel and stuff like that. But as far as sitting there and watching a show about the release, like, I don't care. Just put it out. But that is the magnificence of the NFL marketing machine. They have found a way to make a sport that, doesn't take a lot of the year, take the entire year. And so for that, they are amazing. But I've actually never sat and watched a schedule release.
And neither have I, and nor will I ever. Okay, Mel, go ahead. Although Robert Waddell has a good question about Australia, we'll wait after you, Mel.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had a show.
There you go.
I'm just being
That's
serious.
the best answer of them all.
But it's like, Travis was alluding to. I mean, the NFL is a year-round thing now. I mean, they've done a great job with their marketing, how they promote the league. It's a year-round thing. Combine and then you got this big draft. I mean, it used to be called a selection meeting. Now it's a selection show.
Right.
And I watched it when I was younger. Just to see the highlights as guys that I was watching them. Following throughout their college careers. I used to watch the draft a little bit, then I went away from it a little bit. And I don't watch it that much now because it's just become so commercialized. I just really can't take it. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, the NFL, Travis said, the NFL is king. They're doing a great job of marketing their product year round, keeping people engaged year round. Now here we're getting ready to go. Training camps are going to be opening up really soon. People are going to be excited. And the NFL season, they just kind of ramp it up right up to the NFL season, and then they have some great matchups the first week. They know what they're doing. I mean, they're not, they know exactly what they're doing. It's not by accident that they are the most popular sport in the United States.
Okay, I like this question, Robert Wardell. I actually saw this today, but I'm glad Robert brought it up to save me from using it as a topic next week. What do you think about the potential Rams game coming to Australia? 25 or 26 Rams own the rights of the country. You know what, Robert? I love it. They wanted to own the rights of Australia. They've got it, and I'm sure that they'll get a game there. And I think the Rams, to me, being the second largest market in the country, go to Australia, that's an absolute no-brainer. Okay, let's go ahead. And any of you guys want to talk about? Just say yes or no if you like the idea, so we can keep rolling.
I mean, I like the idea. Sure, I'm looking forward to those awkward and random articles and press conferences when someone gets bit by this weird spider or all those different Australia things. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I got news for you. The kangaroo area is 12 to 14 hours time difference there. So those looking for kangaroos, you got a 12 to 14. Imagine what the travel logistics are. Back to the chat room, and let me just filter through a few of these. WWE is popular in the Middle East. Okay, Packers need to play in Australia. Megan would blank her pants. Okay, all right. Well, you say so, Josh. I'll take your word. Get all that oil money. Yeah, that's my name. I got hats. I have merchandise, and I got the name. So Joshua certainly knows the English language well, especially when he has to use particular language to express his points. And he got it farther on this broadcast than he would have used that word on both broadcasts. But I'm sure Bo would have probably gone out there and used a different set of language or paraphrase it a bit differently. There you go. So what do I think about the chat room for tonight? I tell you, I think it's fantastic. What about you, Bo? Josh,
you guys have been way better than normal. So good job, guys.
There you go. See, I'm telling you, guys can get to know Bo. Get to know Bo. He's great. All you guys are so worried about some of your knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone that sometimes they don't want to eat. Doesn't mean that they aren't going to all get answered. Just kind of depends on what bone you're giving the dog. If the dog doesn't like the bone, he's going to eat it. If you give these dogs good bones, they'll eat it and they'll talk about it. And that isn't all the Mountain Dew.
Do we have a dog food sponsor? Because you went in on that one.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Hey, well, I'll tell you what.
Purina.
Duncan Lozinski is going to get me that dog sponsor is what he's going to do. All right, Duncan, if you're out there, do it. Joshua, if you hear him, let's go out there and get me a dog sponsor. In fact, anybody that gets me a dog sponsor gets 50% of the commission. How about that? Okay. Think about it. Let's put it out there, and I'll take my half and pay these guys with it. And I'll just split it up in quarters.
That's a good one, Josh. Especially well timed.
All right. So now he said sponsored by Dog Check. Okay. I'll say Dog Check just to leave these guys on. Dog Check, bark. Okay, leave it at that. All right. With that said, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I think it already is sponsored by that, right? Like
I don't know. I don't even know. And yet there's only 4 of us, so we're at the 50-minute mark here. I'm inside the picture. Scott Morganroth, please be joined by Travis Holmes, Mel Farr Jr., Bo Crouch, and the rest of these guys in the chat room who are on a ROLL They call it a roll. Stock check. Bark, bark. Okay, that's enough. So with that said, see, look at this. You can all have Mel thinks I'm crazy. He's probably right. I don't know about a puppy check. That's too soft for my deep voice. So with that said, okay, don't need the barks. That's a smoking, I know, a thing. A true dog check is just saying dog check. Thanks for clarifying. All right, dog check one more time. Because if I don't do it, you guys are never going to stop FaceTiming me. I don't know what the over-under is on FaceTimes with these guys tomorrow. Every day, it's probably 5 or 6, 7, 8 of them. As long as they don't get me in the middle of a preparation of the show, although tomorrow will be different because I'll be on the road with my eye doctor. Is that too much information? No. A lot of us are wearing glasses. Some of us aren't. Who cares? It is what it is. But looking forward to my call with Dan Edwards. So with that said, great show tonight. Great participation from the chat room. And, we do address a lot of things. And Bo had an opportunity to let these guys know what he's looking for. So I don't have to hear it from you guys anymore. Okay, because I do hear it. That's okay, Bo. Bo, you know what? I will take those. I will take it all day long because I know how good you are, and I know where you're at every Tuesday night from 8 till about 9:30 every night here on the same station and all that. Candy Abilene, why don't you come out there and give us a station break, and then we'll call it a night. Go ahead, Candy.
Let's see. Scott wrote a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple, and Google Books. Get your copy today. You can also go to www.southfloridatribune.com. You can see Scott's writing. You can see my pictures. But if you want an item that says South Florida Tribune on it, there is actually a store on there too, and you can get merchandise on there. So go out and get yourself some South Florida Tribune or Motor City Madmouth merchandise. You can go to our website to do that. You can email us if you have ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can listen to this show and any of our other shows. Back to you, Scott.
Thank you very much. And Robert Wardell, I don't know where your book is called Little Puppy Who Grew Up and Wrote His First Check. I don't know where that's at, but I know where mine is at. I'll tell you, we got writers, we got talkers, we got dogs in here. We got a little bit of everything. And also we have 50 people looking in here at the 52.5-minute mark. I don't know if that's on YouTube as well, but that's a good turnout for us tonight. And there's 4 of us. So evidently Blake Lozinski, 4 is working out just fine, and you can see us all very easily. With that said, I'm going to go around the horn. Let everybody know how they get a hold of them. We'll start off with Travis Holmes.
You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars on bigcatcountry.com. We handle the press conferences, Jaguars OTAs and rookie minicamp highlights, etc. If you're looking for any Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, we have the Duval Dive, a Jaguars podcast on 11 o'clock a.m. on Fridays, wherever you get your podcasts, through all the podcatchers. And you can find me here every week, 8 p.m. Inside the Pigskin, and also Sports Exchange and Pundit, wherever they need me. As always, it's happy to see you guys.
It's always great to have you, Travis. You've definitely been in my system a long time. And I'll tell you, you're one of the best broadcasters we have. I like to look for good talent. I got 3 dynamos tonight here as well. Mel's come a long way since I've known him. Next year up, Mel, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
You can catch me on all the social media at Melfar Jr., whether it's Facebook, X, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Also might be able to catch me on the Peloton about 5:30 in the morning. Can also follow what we have going on here in Atlanta and also in the city of Detroit for the youth at melfarsuperstar.org, melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
I'll be at that event next year. Take that to the bank. As long as I'm alive, I will be there. Unfortunately, this year, because I had an event over on Wednesday morning and weather was real cold, I got sick that night. But I can guarantee you, well, if I'm talking and I'm walking, I will be there. Period. Take that to the bank. Yeah, take that to the bank, credit union, wherever. But I'm looking forward to it too. That won't come fast enough. Last but not least, Bo Crouch. Go ahead. Let them know how they're going to reach you.
Yeah, so you can find me here every Tuesday night, and of course on my channel at Football-Talk, all the socials, Football Talk with Bo, and also on TikTok. I'm going down that road against my better judgment. Here we are.
Yeah, didn't I hear that Dan McCourt, I think the former owner of the Dodgers, is looking into buying that, if I heard correctly, isn't he? So I thought. I don't know. I thought I read that before. Well, I
Trying
don't
to
know.
buy TikTok?
Yeah, he doesn't like the way things are happening with the Chinese. So if they can buy it in the United States, I heard that. I don't know how true it is, but I'm not on TikTok. I don't have the attention span for that, but I try. My attention span is like a dead person. There isn't much of it except when I'm doing this stuff. I'm in a different element, anyways. With that said, in the element that I'm in, that concludes this edition of Inside the Pigskin. On behalf of Travis Holmes, Melfar Jr., Bo Crouch, and our excellent participation in the chat room, my name is Scott Morgan. We're out the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. We will see you next Tuesday night. Have a good night, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. God bless. Good evening, everybody.